Want to get the proper spark plugs. Don't go cheap. Get the decent stuff. Get the ones that are supposed to be on the car. Okay. And the best time to replace your spark plugs, especially back here, is when the valve cover is off. That's the easiest time. It's much less bloody that way. And the easiest way that I have found to do this is to come in from the driver's side and go in this direction. Take the transmission stick out so you don't break that, and just wedge your arm up in there, down in there, and that's where that mirror comes in handy to get everything out of there or back in there. Best time to put your spark plug wires back in too, and just hang them up over the firewall. Basically clean the muck off the valve covers. I'm not left-handed. Here we go. And these just pop right out. And the new gasket kit will have new grommets. Just replace those, and then you're good to go. And then, like I said, just clean off the dirt. You shouldn't be too dirty on the underside. Just get the major grime off of it, and don't bother trying to get this crap off. That's just not going to happen. Okay, so you take the gasket, the new gasket. They only go on one way, and this is the easiest way to see it. Here there's a little tab. There's your marker for the tab, and it's probably not going to want to stick in there, so just put a dab on one end here and one end over there, a dab of blue RTV, and that should stick it in there long enough for you to get it on the car. The RTV requires 24 hours dry down time before you put any antifreeze in the engine. Alright, it's 11 foot-pounds of torque on the valve cover. Alright, time to put the lower intake manifold on. Make sure to take out whatever you've put into the heads. Alright, your car will depend on which one of these gasket sets you use. This 2002 3800 Series 2 uses this type here. I just did my 1996 that used this type, so whatever you took off, replace it with whatever matches. You can see the tabs coming off the lower intake gaskets here. They will go into the heads right there. Put a dab of RTV in each corner before you lay these down, and then lay it on top of another bead or dab on top of it, and then these will go in here like this, and you put another. I've had some people put another bead on top of that. Some people don't. Try to drop it straight down. Try to make sure those gaskets did not move. Yeah, I can't see this one. Oh, there it is. Alright. These bolts are 11 foot-pound torque. I'm putting a dab of blue thread lock on these bolts. When I took the intake off, I didn't even have to put any strength into taking them out, so it's a wonder that this engine even ran with any vacuum. Just put one dab on about on the bottom 1/3. Just let it go around. You don't have to use much at all. You may need to use this tweezer thing if you've got one to put the two bolts. There's one there and the one there that you can't see at the moment. At 11 foot-pounds of torque. Personally, I went up to 16 pounds. Then I took off the thermostat, so I'm replacing that. And the gaskets came with one of the kits you bought. See the grooves here? I don't know if this camera can pick them up, but they'll drop right into the housing. Clip that sensor wire back onto that bolt. The throttle body support here, this one is actually held on with a bolt or nut. Can't get the light in the way here. There, okay. This one's actually held on with a nut or a bolt. I can't see it straight, just looking through the camera. The new upper intake might not allow the throttle body to fit under that. So this one, you can loosen it up down there. My 1996, it was on the engine block itself and it was welded to it. So I had to use a hammer for it, otherwise, and bend it that direction. Bend it up, basically. Because the throttle body was made the whole upper intake sit like this, and it ended up cracking a couple of bolts over on this side. So you got to make sure that that's going to fit before you tighten everything down. Next, I took off this tube. It's 13 millimeter. Next, I took off this wiring and alternator support from back here. It's 13 millimeter bolts, and they had Loctite on them. Before you put the newer used belt tensioner back on, it's a good time to change the oil and make one last check of your power steering fluid. So the easiest thing to do, change the oil. And here we go, over here. Take the tire off, and there's the oil filter right there. While you're down here, check out a few things, and you can see this bolt that goes from the sway bar to the suspension is shot. Where is it? Okay, so that is, if you're dealing with the same year car as mine, 2002, it's 14 millimeter. Half inch will do the job. It's a bit sloppy, or you can just use what they call them, crescent wrench or monkey wrench, whatever the hell you want to call them. The original is 13 millimeters. The new one is 14 millimeters. You can do this after you open the drain plug for the oil while you're waiting for that to drain. Alright, might as well change the oil, drain the oil. It's on this particular year model, it's 15 millimeter. Don't forget to put a pail under the oil filter. And you may need to, if your car leaks quite a bit, you may need to use a paper towel or something. But I use these adjustable rubber things. I used to have one of those wrench pieces that you just put on the end of a wrench, but I think I let that out and it never came back. Don't be surprised if this happens to you. I just barely started turning it and it snapped right in half. Just grab hold of it with one of these and unthread it. Clean up the parts with a wire brush, and you may need to use the car's jack to raise the axle up high enough to get the new part together. After you're done messing around, fill the new oil filter. Make sure this seal is not still on the engine from the old one, and then run your finger with some oil along this new seal. Tighten it up to the engine, only hand tight. Most of these oil containers are not actually designed to hold oil for long term, so make sure and put it into a different jug or something when you get done. The oil canister I showed you doesn't actually hold oil over time. It leaks pretty bad, so if you have any old jugs or anything, drain it into that thing and then put it into these or something, into some old jugs. As ridiculous as this looks, it's the only funnel I have on hand at the moment, so it works. That's all that counts. Four quarts should do you if you fill the oil filter, and then you might have to top it off later. Alright, now that the oil is serviced, we can get back to putting the belt tensioner back on. It's easier to do it now so you can see. Oh, maybe you can see. There it is. There's the hole for the elbow. Now this particular year, 2002, it's got two different kinds of elbows. The regular L shape will go into the intake manifold, the lower intake, and the L shape will go into another water pump jacket. It's up to you if you use gasket sealer. I would, and I am, and I don't care what it looks like when I'm done as long as it doesn't leak. I'm not out to make anything pretty. You should have gotten a couple of rubber O-rings with the original elbows. Go ahead and use them, and also the gasket maker if you want. Note the elbow is, one of them is different size. Use the orange side to go into the belt tensioner. Obviously this side won't fit, so put the orange side in. Don't forget to take off the tape or it's going to stink when it burns when the engine runs. Now's the best time to put the heater hoses on. And that's a 10mm nut or bolt on the heater hose.
I don't know if I fell asleep during the editing process or if I just completely deleted the video portion where I said to pay attention to the bolt sizes on the belt tensioner. Most of these cars have at least one bolt that's a different size because it might go through something, usually the alternator, so it'll be longer. Pay attention to where that bolt is and put it in the same hole in the new belt tensioner, or just mark it to leave it into the original hole on the original belt tensioner.
Next, put the base of the vibration damper back on down there. It's a 13mm nut. Before you drop the car down off the jack, put the spoiler back on. That's 10mm nut bolts. Put plug wires 1, 3, and 5 back where they're supposed to be. Put the damper support back onto this piece and then tighten that bolt down. Note the Loctite on the one on the right side of the engine block, or the center of the engine block. These are 15mm and these are 13s, and make sure that you keep these two separated because they're different lengths. Putting the solenoid back on, don't forget the ground wire. Solenoid wire, and put it back in its proper spot. 9:30 seconds. I just happen to need a new oil stick. If you get them from Rock Auto, they fit the 3800 Series 2 perfectly. They're just really flimsy. Be careful with them. Clean out the throttle body. The way I insert this with the O-ring is go in a circular pattern. Otherwise, if you just go straight down, a lot of times the O-ring will come out the side, get stuck, and it won't be doing its job.
You don't go in a circle pattern. You press down and pivot it like this while you're pressing down. That's what I meant.
Put the main gasket in place. There's one clip on one side and two clips on the other side. And then there's these things that, these inserts that go into the bolt holes. Make sure that tube is inserted into that hole. We're going to do the PCV valve. That's where this sensor comes in. And you'll have a new rubber piece here for that. I'm not going to use it because I need to replace this. So anyway, you should get a piece of paper showing you how to do this.